Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. My name is Jason Whitford. I'm working as the Chief Executive Officer with End Homelessness Winnipeg. I'm also a board member with the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness. I want to acknowledge that we're on beautiful Mi'kmaq territory, the east coast of Turtle Island. I want to introduce Diane and Carrie from the Niganan Housing Ventures to provide a presentation. The presentation itself, this is the only presentation in this time slot, and we'll have quite a bit of time. It'll be 45 minutes to an hour for the presentation and some videos, and then open it up for conversation, question and answers. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just start off with the introductions. My name is Carrie Cardinal. I'm the CEO of Niganan Housing Ventures. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, and I grew up most of my life in High Level, Alberta. I'm a member of the Big Stone Cree Nation from Wabasca-Desmarais up in Treaty 8 territory, Northern Alberta. And I've been with Niganan Housings for a year in October. I'll let Diane introduce herself too.
Hi, my name is Diane Harkey. I am the Director of Health for Niganan. I am from Saddle Lake, Alberta. That's Treaty 6 territory. I'm a registered nurse of 33 years and have been with Niganan for about over a year now as well.
So for our presentation, we're going to share a little bit about Niganan Housing, what we do, how we started, why we do what we do, and what we're doing going forward. Niganan Housing, a little bit about our mission and our vision. We create communities where individuals and families, predominantly of Indigenous ancestry, can access resources in a manner that honors and respects Indigenous history and culture. Our goal is to empower them in securing housing that provides a genuine sense of acceptance and belonging. And our mission is to foster culturally sensitive environments that offer opportunities for individuals and families of Indigenous ancestry to access safe, healthy, and affordable homes. Now, that's the last time I'm going to read from a slide, I promise you. I really want to make this about having a conversation, share about what we do, why we do what we do. And so I want to start with the story of Ambrose Daniels. Ambrose Daniels was from Buffalo Métis settlement, and he came to Edmonton after a work injury that left him without work. He ended up on the streets of Edmonton, and he was homeless. His social worker, Faye Dewar, she worked with him to find housing for him. Ambrose was known as Papa Smurf. He was a kind man, and he made friends everywhere he went. So every time Ambrose was successfully housed, he wanted to invite all of his friends from the street to come and live with him. And because of that, then he would get evicted, because you weren't allowed to do that. So every time his social worker successfully housed him, he ended up evicted. And he ended up passing away on the streets of Edmonton due to exposure and pneumonia. And his social worker vowed that she would create a place for the Ambrose Daniels of the world. And from there, that's where Niganan Housing Ventures started. We create homes for people that are deemed hardest to house, that have not been successfully housed anywhere else. And we do it with the 4 natural laws of our guidance, and also by leading with love. So in everything we do from our program, we lead with love and kindness, honesty, sharing, and strength. And that's how we do what we do. So by embracing those 4 natural laws, we build relationships and communities. So when people come to us, they might have, been in the foster care system, the residential school system. They might have been homeless for years. But what we do is we meet them where they're at. And instead of saying to them, these are the steps we need you to take, these are the things that we need you to do, we just meet them with love and kindness and acceptance. And through that, we see success. So what we see is that people, once they can feel the love that we're providing, they will actually start to overcome some of that, and we can see them being successfully housed through that. So we believe in a Nihilak way of housing our most vulnerable people, and we're guided by the natural laws, and through that we see a cycle of being rooted in the relationship And so we look at lived experience, people first, culture, spirituality, relationships, community care, and land-based healing. So this is a little vignette. Corolla Cunningham was our CEO for 9 years, and they did this vignette for us through we have a really strong relationship and partnership with Grant MacEwan University, and through that relationship we were able to put together this vignette. And so I've cut out just a couple pieces of the vignette to make like a 10-minute little video. So hopefully it works, because we were having a little bit of troubles earlier. And I think I have to minimize this to show it, so let me try that again. It's working.
It's not on nothing.
Oh, okay. So do I have to exit my full screen?
Just like minimize your power.
Okay. Paused. Okay, it doesn't like the full screen.
Tansi Toya, Ogishigos Gueos, Nitsika San, Ochia Misquachi was Gegen. I just introduced myself by my spirit name, Sky Woman, and that I work and reside in Beaver Hills, also known as Edmonton. My Christian name is Corolla Cunningham, and I'm the CEO of Niginan Housing Ventures. Niginan Housing Ventures is a registered charitable society that was formed in 2007 to address the particular needs of Indigenous people living in Edmonton. We worked alongside individuals and families of Native ancestry to provide supportive, affordable housing opportunities. It was originally created by 7 tenacious First Nations, Métis, and Inuit women. These women were social workers, healthcare providers, and home care supports that saw the disparaging differences in the way Indigenous people were housed. They witnessed many cases where Indigenous individuals were unfairly evicted from housing, and non-Indigenous service providers were not taking the time to explore different ways to interact with them. So these 7 women came together and created this society. They lobbied the provincial and federal government to build their own site where Indigenous people could be housed in a culturally sensitive environment. Although they were unsure of what the programming might look like, they knew what the building needed, and that was enough to get started. Funding for the $14 million build was secured. Public engagement and research was completed, and so our construction began in 2012. Naturally, Niginan faced some challenges with the Community League, who opposed what they were trying to do. Niginan had to fight its position in court, and although the judge ruled in favor of Niginan and could resume construction, a year of time, money, and progress was lost. I was hired in the summer of 2014. From the time that I was 35, I had made a conscious decision that Creator would direct my life and where I would go to work. I was often called to help where I was needed. At the time, I had soon decided to come off the road because I had a teenage daughter that needed her mother at home. One day, a colleague called me and said, Niganan Housing Ventures is looking for an ED, and I think you're just perfect. And I said, oh, why do you think that? And she explained that they were having difficulties and wanted to develop some Indigenous-led programming, but they weren't really entrenched in that way of life. They knew they wanted it, but they didn't know how they were going to fulfill that mandate. So I applied for the position right away and got an interview. After I did the interview, they offered me the job 2 days later. So that's how I started working at Niganan. I always wondered why Creator decided to lead me to a job that was very challenging. Probably the most challenging part of my career ever, and I'm getting ready to retire. I was getting ready to retire and should have been looking for a softer landing, but when I got to Niganan, I realized that my combined skill set and experiences of being a warden and working within communities across North America, Russia, Norway, Australia was necessary to do the work that I took on with Niganan. I started working at the end of July 2014, and it was only me. My job was to get staff on board, load up projects, meet with funders, and figure out how I was going to do all of this programming. So I hired an assistant director, Marlene Orr, who is now the executive director of Native Counseling. When we started working together, we had nothing to work with. We had to build all of our policies, procedures, programming plans, everything from scratch. We had to build program plans, work on how tenants would be handled, create a handbook, figure out what housing support workers were actually supposed to do. We all learned how to make this happen together. By November of that year, we were 3/4 staffed up, and we moved our staff out of a tiny basement office that we borrowed from Communitas and onto the Niganan site known as Ambrose Place. We moved into the boardroom with the plastic table, a couple chairs, and some ideas. We got to work designing program from there. Like many housing providers, I believe that in order to bring someone into wellness and to work through their traumas, they needed to have sobriety.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Help is on the way. He's like, okay, 6:43.
One into wellness and to work through their traumas, they needed to have sobriety.
Just kidding. I know she is. She was here. She was just here, and she went to another presentation. So anyway, what Corolla does talk about though is the story of Ambrose Daniels, which I already just told. So we will just end that part. So just a little bit about why our approach is needed. Number one, limited options. Being Indigenous-led means that we are leading as Indigenous people. 75% of our board is Indigenous. Most of our leadership team is Indigenous, and we hire Indigenous staff as much as possible. Almost all of our residents are Indigenous as well. So that means that we're using culture, community, connections in order to, really provide this model. This is in Edmonton, there's 2,800 homeless people. That's actually incorrect. There's now 3,100. And 55 self-identify as Indigenous. That means that our approach from an Indigenous lens is super, super important. I don't know about you, but in Alberta, we actually have a lot of issues with racism in the healthcare system. And you see it with our residents as well, where somebody from one of our sites goes to a hospital or goes for treatment for something, they can get mistreated or they might not get the best care needed. So we try as much as possible to provide those services in-house. We have our own healthcare program, and we have our LPNs and our HCAs so that we're able to provide that as much as possible. We also are so lucky to have just wonderful relationships and connections with different agencies, even across Alberta. We have a partnership with Wood Buffalo, who's presenting tomorrow on their center in Fort McMurray called TWEL. We have a great relationship with Alberta Health Services and the Government of Alberta, as well as Homer Trust and Red Road Healing Society. Also other agencies such as Grant MacEwan University, we have a great relationship with them. They're doing a research project on one of our sites. So we're actually so fortunate for the number of connections and relationships that we have. So because we've been really building up Niganan housing since 2004, and Ambrose Place opened up in 2014, what we've been able to do is we've been able to add different sites to our portfolio. So we have Omamuwango Gamik, we have MacArthur Place, we have Pamatswin, which is opening up this winter. And all these sites, we're going to kind of briefly go through them all. All these sites have different levels of supports, different programming, and because of that, we're able to now move residents around to provide a continuum of care. So when a resident resides with us, with Niganan Housing, it's very, very rare that they're evicted. Instead, what we do is we always meet as a group and we say, this isn't working, this is happening here. Can we move them somewhere else? Can we provide them a different level of service? Can we, try moving them here temporarily? So we're very fortunate that we're able to provide this continuum of care in order to ensure that residents stay with us for as long as humanly possible. So Ambrose Place is our first site. It has 42 units, and we have daily smudge, we have circles, we have ceremony there, we have pipe ceremony, we have a commercial kitchen, we have a large ceremony room, and we have a number of different supportive workers. We have housing support, health care, and PDD services, as well as our cultural team, and we also have Alberta Health Services embedded staff. So we have our social worker, a recreational therapist, an occupational therapist, and together every week they meet in the boardroom and they go client by client, resident by resident, and they decide what are the issues, what's all happening with each of them. They also have a very loving, caring, supportive way that they deal with our residents. You're not going to find bulletproof glass at Ambrose Place or any of our sites. You're not going to find security guards. What we do is that when a client comes to us and they've been escalated or they're aggressive, we have a very unique de-escalation technique that we use through our training of our staff, and we just surround them with love. I've seen it multiple times where someone is really losing it and the staff surround them and they say, it's okay, I know you're upset, let's do what we can. And if somebody has to leave, then they leave, but at the end of the day we do our best to surround them with love and kindness so that they can stay successfully housed as long as possible. We also have a managed alcohol and a managed cannabis program. So if somebody comes to us and they've been drinking really heavy liquor on a daily basis, then we talk to them about going on a managed beer program. So where they'll say maybe they want to go down to 8 beers, they want to have 8 beers a day, And through that, they'll, start to manage their alcohol intake. They'll get a beer every 2 hours. And then maybe in a few months, we revisit it and say, do you want to go down with less beer? Do you want to maybe decrease the alcohol content in your beer? And through that, we've seen some success stories where they actually quit drinking. I've heard a story at one time, one of the guys came to this desk and wanted his beer, and the housing worker was busy, and he just said, you know what, screw you, I'm not going to have my beer today. And he just quit drinking. So, it works. So we had, so we're going to go back into another little tricky situation here with the video. We had Arsan, who's our housing manager. He actually met with a number of our residents, and you'll hear him talking. This is a 2.5-minute clip, and he asked him a few questions, but the question that really stuck out is like, what does being at Ambrose Place mean to you? So hopefully this works. I'm going to have to minimize this. Where did my mouse go? How do I get it back again? Where did my tech guy go?
Well, our sound's right here. Our sound, you could just reenact.
No, how did I do this now?
Yeah, we'll just do roll.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Just hit escape.
My name is Lionel Charette. I was born in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan in the year of 1954 in Saskatoon. Ambrose Place is it's so beautiful for me. I've never been so surrounded by beautiful people and staff. I clean my room, I get my food. We got an awesome cook. Everything around this building is functionally beautiful. All you gotta do is listen to the staff and obey their rules. They're not hard rules, they're just common sense rules.
My name is Tracy Willett Kootenay. I'm from Alexis First Nations.
What is it about Ambrose Place that works for you?
My own privacy and my own space, and no one bothers me. I don't bother anybody. I love it like that.
What do you like about Ambrose Place?
Again, I love it that there's food here. I have a community. I have family here, it feels like. We support one another, and I know that I'm loved because I feel it. I love that. It's not like strangers on the street, living at the homeless shelter and then going about here. I feel like I'm connected with a family. I know their children. I know things about them. I feel kinship with them.
My name is Alec Fleck. I'm originally from DePaul, Manitoba.
What is it that you like about Ambrose Place?
Be clean and sober. And sleep on a real bed. Have a real place to live. And do a lot of my paintings here.
My name's Donna Crane, and I'm from Saddle Lake.
What is it that you like about Ambrose Place?
Ambrose Place has given me a place to live for hard to find, hard to house people.
What do you like about Ambrose Place?
I'm safe here, and I got friends. They're more like my family now. I've been here for a long time.
Guess we're done. Oh, damn. Just kidding. that vignette always touches me, and it's basically because I'm going to tell you a little story, just a little story about me. I'm a 60 scoop survivor. My mom went to residential school, and I know all about not having a connection to my culture, to my language, to all of it. And when I see these residents, that's what they're lacking. I got to go to Saddle Lake with another job I had, and I had to do a presentation. And unbeknownst to me, the chief was alerted that I was from the area. So after my presentation, as I was gathering all my things, he said, no, stop. And he brought up the elders to my right, presented me with a beautiful shawl, brought in somebody to drum a welcome home song for me. And that entire auditorium stood up. There were 60 people at least that stood up in an entire circle, and then each welcomed me home and hugged me and embraced me. And I tell that because that's what I think our people need. Our people need that sense of belonging, hope, purpose, meaning, belonging. And that was so impactful. And it sounds so simple, right? I mean, it really was a simple act, but it was life-changing. So when I think about our residents, I always have that in the back of my mind, that they just need connection, however that means to them. But wouldn't it be amazing if we could take each and every one of them back to their reserve and have that for them, or bring their reserve to them, right? So that's what we really strive to do at Niganan. In some way, we strive to connect and to really make our people feel like they are a community. And you saw it in the vignettes. They do feel like we are their family. And that's very important to us. And yes, families fight. And yes, they don't always get along. But, and sometimes they're dysfunctional. But in the end, they know. And I can say, like, there's some of our coworkers here today. I can say I couldn't be prouder of a group of people who just, they lead with their hearts. And, and it's genuine, Arsan, who was doing the interviewing, I know when he walks in that place, like, people love him, So yeah, that's what we do. So anyway, this is one of our buildings, Omamu Wango Gameak, means all my relations. In Cree, yes, thank you. In Soto? Oh, Kukri and Soto. I'm learning something new today too. So there's 42 units. They're, of course, affordable housing project. So families, we have quite a few families that live in there. There's also elders and youth, and they have a mobile health care team that comes in. I think I heard, so Melissa told me yesterday, there were 15 reunification, examples in this building. Yep, 15. And I think there were 3 or 4 births since it's opened, yes. So obviously it was created to prevent the apprehension of children from Children and Family Services. And then, of course, with that supportive community. So the thing I really love about them is, young families, if they have children, they're surrounded by their cookums and their mushums and their aunties and their uncles. So it's just a real community. It's got a really nice, energy to it, because all of the kids and all of the people are supported in a great way. They have, the housing need level is, so we talk in level 1, 2, 3, 4. The level 1, 2, they're not really too active in their substances or any kind of, addictions or anything, and they're pretty self-sufficient, so they don't need the 24/7 level care that we give in the other facilities. And we've got a lot of youth, and I think we're getting an award tomorrow for youth. You can, I don't know what it is. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we actually were the recipients of the 2023 Youth Homeless Prevention Award through Making the Shift, and we're being recognized at a gala tomorrow evening. And we actually have a couple of our residents here. Allison will be coming tomorrow as one of our youth that live at Omamuwengo-Gamic. So yeah, very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I botched that. So this is the place that I'm currently a site manager at. MacArthur is a Homeward Trust build, so there were 5 Homeward Trust builds in Edmonton, and this is one of them. It's on the north end of Edmonton, and it's a 50-bed facility. We have 1 bedroom and bachelor suites, and we're more of a level 3-4, so we have a lot of people with higher physical medical needs. So we have a few accessible suites in there. And we have, as you can see on the bottom there, we have one of our residents actually from, oh, he's not there anymore, is he? Is he still? Oh, Kevin, is he still there? Okay. At Omamu, he has done those beautiful paintings, and you saw them in the vignettes too. He's done the paintings in MacArthur as well. So, like you said, we have 24/7 healthcare. So we have LPNs and healthcare aides, and then we also partner with just one pharmacy in Edmonton that brings us all of our services, which works really well for us. We have the managed cannabis and alcohol programs too. We started in April. We're just about full. I think by the time I get home, we might have 5 rooms left, but it's been a big project, that's for sure. And she wanted to talk about Pamatswin.
So yeah, Pamatswin. We acquired Pamatswin in 2021. It was an old hotel, and it's been undergoing a renovation job for a really long time, and it's almost over. We're so excited. So Pamatswin originally was housing our bridge program, what used to be called bridge housing. In this year, the government of Alberta came to us and said, we really want Niganan to have a shelter. And Niganan Housing Ventures has always said, we don't do shelters. To us, shelters are spaces on the floor in a gymnasium or warehouse with mats. And we've always said, we refuse to do mats on the floor, people leaving in the morning. If someone is dope sick and they want to sleep for 3 days, we have to allow that. We also have to feed them 3 meals a day and provide those cultural services to all of our residents. So because of that, we've never agreed to do a shelter. This summer, though, it was really exciting because the government came to us and said, well, we want to know what Niganan Housing Ventures defines as a shelter. And we said, absolutely, we'll define a shelter. We'll tell you exactly what an Indigenous-led shelter looks like. So an Indigenous-led shelter means that everybody has a bed, you can stay there for as long as needed, you don't have to quit drinking, you don't have to quit doing drugs. We provide you with love and support, caring, we meet you where you're at, we provide you with 3 meals a day, and you have access to all of our cultural services, daily smudge, weekly sweats, pipe ceremonies, any ceremonies on the land training. We provide that to all of our residents, and we do that with our shelter residents as well. So at Pamatswin, we're going to have a number of different services. It's super exciting. We're going to be housing 160 residents there this winter. So in the old tower part, the 3-story tower part, that's going to be 54 permanent supportive housing. So very similar to Ambrose and MacArthur. Those are going to be level 4 residents needing permanent supportive housing. We'll be providing the same level of healthcare services, cultural services, food services as we do for all of our sites. And then in the back where the banquet room used to I went to dances in the banquet room back in the days, so I was like, oh, this looks different now. But in the banquet room, we've entered into a partnership with Alberta Health Services, And we're doing we're doing a pilot project. We're calling them Enhanced Care Suite. So in Edmonton region right now, we have 42 people that are in acute care in hospital purely because they have nowhere else to go. So Niganan Housing Ventures is going to be opening up 6 enhanced care suites where they'll be coming from acute care, and we'll be providing them with our Niganan way of doing things. So we'll be surrounding them with love and kindness, and we'll also be providing that extra level of healthcare supports that's needed to get them out of acute care. Acute care is probably one of the worst places you could be. It's like, the worst place is shelters, and the second, the worst place is shelters. The second worst place is on the street, because I've heard people on the street who say they would never go and stay in a shelter. They'd rather be on the street. And acute care is right after that. So by doing this, we're taking people that have been in acute care for sometimes years, and we're going to be giving them a permanent supportive place where they can live and provide them with those health services needed. And we're doing only 6 for now because we want to pilot it and see how it's going to work. In the front of the banquet space, we're actually going to be putting another 15 shelter spaces. And in the tavern, right now, we're operating 34 of our shelter spaces. Those are cute. So our shelter spaces, what they look like right now is they're cubicles. They have 3 walls and a curtain, and they have a bed, and they have a little bit of furniture inside, and they're provided, again, the 3 meals a day and all the services that are afforded to all of our residents. So that's going to be inside Pamatswin. Now, something super exciting that happened this summer is this company called Pallet Homes came to the city of Edmonton because they build these little tiny 8x10 homes, and they're really successful in places like California or Oregon. But because they're made for places like California, they would not withstand an Edmonton winter. And so Pallet Homes came to the city of Edmonton and said, we've actually redeveloped our Pallet Homes to be Edmonton or Canadian winter ready, and we want the city of Edmonton to pilot this for us. The city of Edmonton came to us and said, will you pilot 4 of these little Pallet Homes for us? And we said, absolutely, we'll do that. And so we decided then that we should also look at, if we're going to do 4 tiny homes, then we should look at maybe we should put something else there like an oil camp. So we connected with a local oil camp company, Civio, and they're providing us with a 50-man camp as well. So this funding just got approved. I just signed off on it this morning, so I'm super excited about it, because this means we get to, yay, I know. So what this means is we get to house another 54 people outside. So inside we're gonna have our shelter spaces, our permanent supportive housing, and then outside we're going to have our temporary winter shelter. And this is all going to be happening in December. So it's a lot going on for Pamatswin, super exciting, but again, it's all because of not only the hard work of our team members and my co-workers, it's also the hard work of our partners. We have partners who really go for bat. They really, really go to bat for us, where other people are like, that, you can't do that. And our partners are like, yes, they can do that. And so we're so grateful for that, so. So one last story I wanted to share is Brian's story. Brian, this is on YouTube, and it's going to be, tricky again, but Brian came to us, I want to say 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. So he's been with us for a while, and they interviewed him for this a few years ago, and so it's just a really heartwarming story to hear him share it. It's about 7 minutes long.
I was homeless. I was in a Royal Albert Hospital. I ended up there.
Just wait, Sorry, Brian.
The city police officer and a social worker got me this place. The doctor wouldn't discharge me because I had nowhere to go. How did I feel? Well, felt hopeless.
Our team is under the violence reduction of the Edmonton City Police Service. We are called the heavy users of service, and the clients that we choose to provide services to are based on a vulnerability matrix. So essentially it's clients who are the heaviest users of EPS, EMS, ETS, and services such as that. So essentially Brian came to our attention by referrals through EPS members and also ETS members. Brian was identified as a very vulnerable person. Prior to him being referred to us, he was in a house fire. Consequently, he's now an amputee, losing his left leg. We eventually were able to get Brian interim housing at an apartment. The supports in place were home care. That way we could bring in the proper wheelchair, the bathing stool and such. After that, he was referred to Ambrose Place and was accepted, which was fantastic because when he was at the apartment, there was many unwanted guests that were coming in. He was being abused financially, emotionally, and such. Since coming to Ambrose, he did go through a transition period where he was still frequenting the areas that he was in the past, where he was getting trespassing tickets and public talks. Since then, he has transitioned fully, and Brian is a completely different person at this point in time. He is not consuming as much alcohol, he's eating well, his diabetes is being monitored, and overall he is doing much better.
That city police officer that helped me get this place, he knew where I used to sleep. He used to always come there and check on me. By 50th Street there, in the back alley.
The back alley?
Yeah. That's approximately where I lost my leg too. I got burned. I was sleeping on a nice, big, soft, clean mattress. I laid down, I fell asleep. I woke up at the burn unit in University Hospital. The doctor cut my leg off. So.
When Brian first came to us, he was in quite bad shape. He probably had been living in a bus stop or a bus shelter for at least a month. He probably hadn't showered in 1 or 2 months. His hair was all matted. He was covered in feces. He hadn't been taking his medications or his insulin. He was just very, very run down and tired. He was also a very angry person when he first came to us. And he was sent to the hospital by EMS. He went in for failure to thrive and self-neglect. He was in the hospital probably for 2 months or so, and then he came back to Ambrose Place. Now, a year later, you look at Brian, and he is totally transformed. He is happy. His self-esteem has risen. He says good morning to you every day. He's just such a happy person now. He attends a lot of different cultural events at Ambrose Place. He takes part in a lot of the community events, and he also smudges every morning with the residents and staff. The turnaround for Brian has been profound. We are so happy to see that change in him, and he definitely is one of our just most loved residents.
Well, I feel relaxed here, and this way I can make better use of my money. I don't lose it.
Do you drink every day here?
Yeah, coffee, water.
Yeah, but what about the alcohol?
If I can afford it, yeah, why not?
But you don't drink like you did every day.
I know.
Most days you're sober.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I like staying here. When I was living out there, I wanted to drink it. I got to find a place, to spot to sleep. It was cold. I like it here.
You like it here now?
Yeah, I got to like, especially when I'm living at a place where they do smudging cigarettes. So I believe in that.
So we don't really run any one program. We do a number of things, and we try different ways to help people here. The biggest thing is, number one, that we treat them with kindness and give them some dignity, and we keep inviting them, and eventually they come in, and some of them change really quickly, and some of them you see the change over a period of time. When I first met Brian, he was Maybe he had dementia or some sort of brain injury, maybe even Wernicke's, and so I thought he was going to be a tough new resident for us, and instead, once he got sobered up in the hospital and cleaned up, and he doesn't hardly drink anymore. He's a very pleasant man to talk to. He's funny. He still drinks occasionally, but nothing like he was doing. The change in the man is amazing.
No, I like it too. The staff is good. They treat me good. Well, just free cable, phone, and I got my own TV there, so I don't have to pay for the cable. 3 meals a day. I didn't break that camera, did I?
No.
See that?
Yep, thank you.
I just want to say I was working at Indigenous for probably 4 months, and I realized Brian is my cousin. Yeah. First cousin.
So at Nignan, we do also have a Persons with Developmental Disabilities program. So in Alberta, persons with developmental disabilities, it's when your IQ is 70 or under and you've been deemed unable to live on your own, you do need to have that 24/7 support. So we actually have 4 care homes, and then we have a number of residents embedded in our sites so that we can provide that 24/7 support. And our PDD residents are all Indigenous, and they all have to have housing and complex needs. A lot of them don't have a family that will take care of them, and we do provide them with a safe and loving environment like we do all our residents. They also have access to our cultural services and programming, and we just provide them with that core, relationship building and building those connections with people. This is one of the events that they put on. The PDD puts on a lot of events. They just had a big Halloween party with a charcuterie board, which is really cool. But this summer they put on a PDD paint night. So we had hired a painter to come in and do a paint night with a lot of the residents. And you can see here their works of art, and they really loved it. But we have ongoing programming. I'm going to let Diane talk about healthcare since she's our director of health.
I might know a thing or two. Yes, just to recap, like we said before, we do have a team of healthcare aides and LPNs, and also have some embedded Alberta healthcare staff. And just when Carrie was talking about Pimatuan too, about those 6 enhanced care beds, those are going to be really, really important because for the first time, we're actually going to be having people that are on the level 5. And what I mean by level 5, they have a trimorbidity. So they'll have an addiction, they'll have probably a very complex physical diagnosis, plus they'll have a mental health diagnosis. So that will be a very complex type of resident that we'll have, but we are really super excited because they've never done anything like this before. So we're really quite looking forward to it. So like I said before, we have our coordinated pharmacy service for all our residents, and they're so good that they even come out, they host a Christmas event every year. So the pharmacists come and they actually serve food, and so because they've made and built these relationships a lot of times with the residents as well. So we're very fortunate to have that. Of course, we're always incorporating traditional knowledge. So in some of our sites, and like Carrie said, we do on-the-land training and herb picking and stuff. So in some of our sites, we actually have some of the traditional medicines if people choose to use or have that. And it's always like that mixture of traditional and modern medicine or Western medicine to treat them. They were all successfully vaccinated through the pandemic. They did an amazing job. I wasn't on. I can't take any credit for that. But they did a really amazing job through the pandemic. And then they also have palliative care. So some of the residents have, over the years, especially at Ambrose Place, of course, because of their mistrust with the hospital system, and because this is their family, they've chosen to end their life or have palliative care in Ambrose. And that's a really beautiful, beautiful thing, because then they're still surrounded by their community. We have some relationships with an Indigenous doctor that will provide guidance and come and visit our client or our residents. So they've had deaths, but they're beautiful. They're beautiful and surrounded by the people that they love. Is that it? Oh, okay. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so just a little bit about working at Nignan. When I started last year, we had 100 staff, and now we have 200, and we're going to be hiring another 150 this winter. So hit us up if you're looking for work. You want to move to Alberta and live in Edmonton. Really, it's been warm there this winter so far, so maybe it'll be, you never know. So we have a lot of events. In September, we had a staff retreat, and we had all of our staff attend for 2 days. We had activities such as smudge teachings and smudge kit building. And you know what, Olivia's been amazing. She has been to all the sessions all day today, and she's been so quiet. So if she wants to get a little upset now, she totally deserves that. She's been so good. So anyway, we had a retreat, and we did, medicine bundle making and arrowhead intention making and bannock making over the fire, which was delicious. I went out there a whole bunch of times. And then we had a paint session as well. So really just a chance for all of the staff, because we have so many sites, to really just reconnect and get to know one another. We also, on September 30th, we had a day at Ambrose Place where we provided, we had a donation of about 600 blankets, and we provided all the blankets to the community, as well as some emergency kits. Like we gave out mittens and hats and hand warmers, and so yeah, it's just, and right now we're in the middle of a star blanket making project with our residents at Omamuango-Gamik. So we have about I think 10 residents all together making star blankets, and a couple of the staff have joined in as well. So yeah, that's all due to a grant that we received. And I think that's it. So like us on Facebook and Insta and LinkedIn, and yeah, thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Yes?
Oh, is it turned on? Is it turned on? Oh, okay.
I wanted to, first of all, congratulate your whole team. I think this is an amazing period, and congratulations on your award for tomorrow.
Thank you.
I think, we are a organization in a growing process as well. We have 2 shelters and 3 housing, and looking at possibly 2 more housing. What I'd like to know is, with the different options, how did you come about these buildings? Is it something you purchase as an organization, every one?
No, I'll explain. Everyone is different. So our first one, Ambrose Place, that was a capital request, and we built that from the ground up. But what happened, Corolla kind of explained it a little bit in her video. What happened is, midway through the project, the community came and they actually sued Niganan to stop the build because they didn't want that in their backyard. And so we had to fight in court for about 1.5 years, and because of that, we ended up owing a lot of money to finish the build. So we partnered with another agency, Right at Home, and I don't know why I didn't mention Right at Home. They're one of our biggest partners. And so Right at Home actually helped pay for Ambrose Place to be completed. So we own 67% of Ambrose Place, and Right at Home owns 33%. And we do have a small mortgage, but most of it was built with capital money. And then the second place we built, Omamuwango Gamek, that again was another capital project and mortgage, and we also went in a partnership with Right at Home. So we own 50% of that, and Right at Home owns 50%. MacArthur Place is owned by Homer Trust, and we agreed to be their operators. So it's a Homer Trust building, and we're solely the operators. We have an operator agreement with Homer Trust. And then Pamatsawin is 100% owned. That is 100% Niganan Housing Ventures. We actually moved our head office there as well. There was a building outside the old hotel, and that's where we put our head office. And this is where, this is gonna, we're really excited about what's gonna happen this winter. That was built almost, it was all grants. We actually didn't have to borrow any money for Pamatsawin. The City of Edmonton has a grant program, the Province of Alberta has a grant program, and the federal government has a grant program. So we just apply for grants as much as possible, and hopefully we can make it all work so we don't have to, then we don't have those extra costs. We still have to pay the operations. We don't make a lot of money. We're not like a regular landlord where we're making a ton of money on our buildings because it is affordable. We can only charge 33% of the rent of their income. Most people are on AISH, and in Alberta, AISH is $16.85 a month, so we can only charge 30% of $16.85 for rent, and then that is how we have to pay for our operations. So most of our buildings, we cannot pay for our operations just based on that. So this Pamatsawin building is the first time where we're actually going to hopefully generate a small revenue where we're actually going to be making some money. But if you ever have any questions or you want to, we're always happy to help. We're always happy to help share our journey and share what we've done and our success stories and also our challenges and things we've run into. I have a really long story about tax exemption as well that I won't share here, but anybody who asks me, I'll share my story about tax exemption issues we've been having in Edmonton, but that's for another day, another audience. Yes? Oh, yay!
Anybody's welcome.
Yes, I have one question as well. One of the questions that I do have is we do have residents, and again, we rely on different support. It's not, it doesn't. So I guess have you come into challenges with that, and have you created solutions around that?
So do you mean that the income support doesn't pay enough rent for you to?
No, they do pay for the rent, but sometimes, like, if they get other income or whatever, then they won't get that income support for that month, and so then they don't have money to pay the rent, so either they face eviction or those costs are covered by.
Yeah, in Alberta, we have the AISH program, and almost all of our residents are on AISH, and because an AISH is a permanent program, so you're on AISH until you're 65, and then when you're 65, you go on old age security. So almost all of our residents are on AISH and then old age security. And with AISH, we enter into third-party payment agreements, so that money comes directly off of their AISH checks and comes to us. And sometimes I know this is hard to believe, but sometimes the government messes up and we don't get our rent, but we end up with, sometimes they end up with a little bit of a, they owe money, and we'll say, well, can you pay like $50 a month until it gets paid off? But for the most part, that's not really an issue for us, mainly because of it, there's two reasons, mainly because like our permanent supportive residents don't have income support, they're almost all on AISH, and secondly, because we have a really great relationship with Homer Trust, and Homer Trust tops up rent for people who can't afford rent for a certain period of times, and they'll top up rent for like up to a year sometimes. So again, really great. I mean, we're very fortunate for these relationships and these partnerships, but yeah, so I hope that helps. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing you when you come visit us at the end of the month. Yeah. Oh, yay! Oh, good, yay.
You're all welcome.
Yes, all come. Especially after Pamatsawin opens, we're gonna have a big opening ceremony, so. So Arsan is sitting behind you and he's shaking his head. I mean, it's an ongoing issue because, we do have a lot of street people who their pet is their family. That is who they identify as their family. Sometimes it's the only, loved person or loved thing in their world. So it is hard, but unfortunately for pets, it's very hard if they take off, like who takes care of the pet, you know, and they have apparently tried it over the years, and it just doesn't seem to be successful. We've talked about, you know, getting maybe smaller pets. We haven't really done it yet, so yeah, it definitely is. We've talked about a house pet, but then it's like, who's going to clean up after it? Who's going to take care of it? You know, sometimes there's like really, there are incidents sometimes that are very like volatile that you wouldn't want a pet to be around. Our residents do act out. I mean, those are great videos to showcase the real success stories, but we do have a lot of events that are very volatile. And so to subject a pet to that would actually be a little traumatic. So we do try to tell people, you know, we'll work with them to try to rehome their pet or find a place for them. Or, and some of our staff do bring their pets to work. So she has a little dog named Pippin. Pippin goes to work with her. The residents know Pippin. So, and we have a couple more staff that do bring their pets to work. So, yeah. Yeah.
I remember you saying something a bit earlier about how you won't find bulletproof glass or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Ottawa. We're a Shepherds of Good Hope. We're a shelter and housing provider in Ottawa. So it's something that we're constantly trying to find a balance between like the safety of our staff and our residents and service users, but like not making it feel institutional, where a lot of people have been traumatized in institutions and hospitals. So, you know, barring the bulletproof glass, as you say, what safety mechanisms do you have, if any?
Well, I think number one is we have like a lot of Indigenous staff, and because of that, there's already a relationship just because they're Indigenous. Like she said, one of the residents is her first cousin. And you know, honestly, our residents are not dangerous. They really aren't. They're a danger to themselves, but they're really not a danger to us. And we just kind of walk in there knowing that. We do have a really great training program. Our San and Jamie have put it together. It was called CAM training, and now it's called Wikotuan training. And it is a de-escalation where, you know, we really put the onus on the staff member to really work and meet that person where they're at. As soon as you start giving a resident, you know, rules or direction and they're not in a mood, yeah, things are going to get a little bit out of hand. So, and we also don't do any restraint training. Like we've never provided restraint training to our staff because we just don't believe that that's the way that we should go. And it really changes, you know, the way people talk to people. You won't see a lot of signage up either saying no harassment. Like when you walk in a hospital, you say no harassment will not be tolerated. Like we don't have that there, you know. It's you can yeah, I've been called a number of names, I've been sworn at. It's like, okay, you know, you just have to work with people where they are and just understand that. But at the same time, we do recognize safety is an issue, and we're always training our staff, and we're always like, when an incident happens and the staff get hurt, like we do a critical incident report, we look at what happened, what steps are needed, and we have removed residents because they were a threat to staff. I think since I've started, I've seen 2 evictions of staff, of residents in our yeah, a couple of staff evictions, but we have had to evict residents just purely because they are just a continued danger to others and danger to themselves. So we, you know, it's just not the right place for them. So, but yeah.
I hear you. I think the staff training piece is a big thing.
It is. It's huge.
And we try to, you know, instill that in our staff too. Like you have influence in any situation to prevent it from escalating to a point where, you know, anybody is at risk. Right?
Yeah.
So we have to think.
Yeah. Thank you. We do for a fee, Arsan.
I just want to add one more thing to that too. When there are incidences, if there are with residents and staff, very important with Niganan that we do a lot of debriefing. So we bring everybody into the circle, and we even the person who, maybe the resident who got escalated, and then it's like a restorative justice kind of a thing, you know, where we talk it out. They hear firsthand how they impacted, you know, the other people. So it's a really good model. I've never worked in an organization that's ever done that, and it really works. Yeah.
Yeah. We do. We have a lot of lived experience staff as well.
That's
yeah.
a good point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I came to Tried to impart the idea to his team that we're working with that we can't treat everybody the same way because we don't have that trauma-informed training. Some of the team don't get the intergenerational trauma, 60s, the residential schools, and the impact, even though they don't have somebody who survived residential schools, but they don't get that intergenerational trauma that comes down. And then they were trying to engage with the residential centres, bringing that training, get the teams over there to get the training. We talked about it very well. But how do you engage with those clients, those residents and tenants, so you don't need those signs of you don't have this feel of where the residents don't want to have themselves. Is this something that I have mentioned in the training where I can do outreach training to other organizations within it? Because there is a shelter here through the Resurgence in Bristol, and I work within a criminalised community where the men are coming from the facilities, and we know that there's a high percentage of extraordinarily high percentage of criminalised men are Indigenous, and we get a lot of applicants from Indigenous men to come into the house because there's no beds available in the shelter. We want to be sure that we're treating them, we're working with them, we're engaging with them in a culturally appropriate way. But it's proven a challenge because the timings can't be there, the availability of the supports can't be there. And I was just kind of looking at this talk today to try and see maybe I can communicate with yourselves as well to bring that culturally informed trauma idea that it's not just within the community in Halifax or within the social, but certainly across Canada and every other communities like yourselves may be able to provide, not necessarily in person, maybe Zoom, maybe just literature that we can get access to, because it all comes from the same source, it all comes from the colonisation of Canada by Europeans to create this trauma, to create these challenges that Indigenous communities face today. And I just want to help the team do their part to stop the adding to trauma.
100%. That's exactly what we do.
We're not going to reverse it, but we understand it, and we can engage with the community in a way that stops it being exacerbated. Then that's a positive step forward for us.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what we do. And that's why we always said no to the shelter concept, because we feel shelters re-traumatize Indigenous people all over again. It's a model worse than a lot of other models out there. So, but to answer your question, yeah, absolutely, we're always engaging with other people. Joanne is here from Wood Buffalo. She's the executive director of Wood Buffalo of the TWOW Center in Fort McMurray, and we've worked with her really closely. We actually sent three of our staff up on their opening week, and our staff worked with their staff to just share our knowledge, because we've been through it. It's really a changing of the mindset. We are a decolonized agency, so what that means is that we don't look at the way that things have been done. We don't say, well, that's traditionally how you deal with this. We look at well, everything that has been tried with this person has failed, from child and family services to group care to criminal justice system to the healthcare system. They've all failed this person. That's why they are where they are. So we try to say, how can we help them in a different way, in a meaningful way, and something that means something to them. And that is a real mindset for the staff and my coworkers. If we didn't do that, we would have the same. We would be the same as everybody else, and we wouldn't have the successes we do with our residents. Now, there are a lot of people who find success in other places, and that's awesome. But our residents are the ones that have not been successfully housed anywhere else, and that have been literally deemed the hardest to house in Edmonton. So, and that's where we find our successes. So, yeah.
I forgot to mention one thing.
We also have an amazing elders program too. We have, yes, one of our elders is back there. We didn't mention that. Yes, it's really, really important to have that for sure. That
One last question.
This is really a greeting from us as Māori leaders in New Zealand. We decided to really come just to whakarunga, just to listen and take in. I think what we have gained already in this first day is exactly what you presented. For Indigenous, by Indigenous. And what you've shown us already really is kindred spirit with us in terms of as Māori leaders working in the space of homelessness in the most populated homelessness area in New Zealand, Auckland City, and the second most populated homelessness area is Rotorua. But our desire is that we continue to model exactly what you do. Decolonize in a way where it looks authentically us. And it's by man, for man, and for you. So on behalf of our team, about 14, 15 of us traveling from New Zealand just to be here and just to listen to you. Thank you, Mimi, and just really want to honor you on behalf of it.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. So we did attend your session this morning, and we have 18 of us came from Edmonton to this conference, and quite a few of us attended. And I actually told our team, I said, whoever gets us the grant to go to New Zealand gets to go to New Zealand. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate. Oh, Blaine wants to say one thing.
Just one thing for everybody to realize, that when we evict somebody, we don't throw them away. It just means not right now. Maybe in 6 months, 3 months, when they've had some time out in the streets to go back to other resources, they come back and they've got an attitude change. And all of a sudden, not even an attitude change, they're more willing to work on themselves to keep their housing. So it's not that we evict them and kick them out and say, see you later, good luck, have a nice life. It's like, hey, you know what, this isn't working out right now. Let's be adults about this. Come back and see us when you're ready to work on this. We'd be happy to help you. Looks like.
Thank you.
Oh, Kichime Gwich, Carrie and Diane, it was an honor and a pleasure to listen to your work, and Kichime Gwich, your team of staff for doing your amazing hard work, and keep it up, and we look forward to hearing more. And I'd like to go there someday as well as a Anishinaabe, always looking for solutions and inspiration in this challenging work. Thank you. This is,